Hello, hello. Welcome to another episode of Digital Marketing Therapy. Sammy here, your host. And today we're talking about LinkedIn. With networking opportunities dwindling because we can't do face-to-face, LinkedIn is kind of the best option for your virtual networking needs. And so I have invited Anthony Blatner to join me on this episode to talk a little bit about LinkedIn in general. Some of the features you might not be aware that they've added, some ways you can take advantage of it during this time, and if you're ready to take it to the next level, even how LinkedIn ads might support you in growth in your business. Yes, businesses are slowing down. Yes, businesses are shutting down. But that doesn't mean that your business doesn't have an opportunity to continue to get in front of new audiences, generate leads, and build potential new customer bases for when things open up a little bit more, and for ways for you to support and provide service to people that can really use what it is that you are an expert in right now. Okay, I hope that makes sense. I really think LinkedIn's a great platform, and I hear a lot from people saying, LinkedIn is dead. Nobody's on LinkedIn. So Anthony Blatner here is going to help us walk through it all and share with us the beauty of LinkedIn ads as well. Anthony Blatner is the founder of Modern Media, a top LinkedIn advertising agency. And as a previous tech founder and ex-IBMer, Anthony has seen a lot of companies have explosive growth with good technology and good marketing, while others, even though they had great products or services, fail without effective marketing. In 2016, Anthony started Modern Media to help those companies unlock their B2B marketing potential by blending his experience in marketing and software. Anthony is able to help businesses reach high-level decision makers at scale using LinkedIn ads and technology. It's safe to say that Anthony is one of the top LinkedIn ads experts in the industry, having managed millions in ad spend and generating over 100,000 new sales opportunities. So let's jump into LinkedIn. I'm so excited for this episode. But before we get to it, this episode is again brought to you by our digital marketing therapy sessions. And maybe you're sick of hearing me talk about them, but I promise you, these are some of my favorite things to do all day. So head on over to thefirstclick.net/office hours, snag your free 30-minute session with me. They're not normally free, but we are having them free for now. So check them out, get in. I would love to hear about your business, love to hear how we can integrate your website and LinkedIn together. How can we help you create content for both? I would love to talk to you about that. So thefirstclick.net/office hours. I can't wait to see you. But for now, let's get to it. You're listening to the Digital Marketing Therapy Podcast. I'm your host, Sammy Bedell-Mulhern, and each week I bring you tips from myself and other experts, as well as hot seats with small business owners and entrepreneurs to demystify digital marketing and get you on your way to generating more leads and growing your business. Hey, Anthony, thank you so much for joining me on the Digital Marketing Therapy Podcast.
Hey, Sammy. Glad to be here.
Okay, so Anthony, we know you love LinkedIn, but why is LinkedIn kind of your platform of choice?
My LinkedIn is my platform of choice because I've always been in like the B2B world or like working on enterprise, more corporate-y enterprise stuff. And that doesn't work as well on Facebook, which is more of like my friends and family. So I think as I got into it, I felt more comfortable sharing on LinkedIn the business things, and I felt uncomfortable sharing those on Facebook. And all my work has been in the B2B world. So that's why I spent all my time on LinkedIn. And nowadays I'm one of the weird people that probably spends more time on LinkedIn than Facebook.
Okay, so all the people that are rolling their eyes and being like, LinkedIn's dead, nobody talks about LinkedIn anymore, like what would you say to them?
Well, I'd say open your app and check recently. Like I spent most of my time on LinkedIn, and just like over the last few weeks, with everything going on now, activity is just like through the roof on LinkedIn. I've noticed a lot of people I haven't seen on LinkedIn in a while starting to post, and just my newsfeed blowing up from it. And we got a graphic from one of our LinkedIn reps of like overall activity on LinkedIn. And it's of course like spiked over the last month, but the numbers were pretty impressive. It was like 2,017% increase in activity. And we're all being forced online, everything in person now. So just traffic's through the roof. So now is a good time to start leveraging LinkedIn.
So for businesses obviously a lot of our businesses have changed dramatically now's the time to be online, obviously, because more people are online, more people are looking to do business online. Brick and mortar is kind of struggling. So, LinkedIn is a great platform to start to continue to build those drivers, right? Those revenue drivers and things for when things start to loosen up a little bit and we can kind of get back to a different normal. It's just a great way to keep building networks and things like that, don't you think?
Yeah. So what I usually say is especially right now, while we can't like bump into people at the co-working space or talk around the water cooler, LinkedIn and just like online in general is kind of the alternative that we have to use right now. So, using LinkedIn in that way of while I'm not bumping into people at the coffee shop or at the co-working space, how can I bump into them online, make those connections that I used to do in person, but doing those online now.
And for people that don't know, LinkedIn was purchased by Microsoft how long ago? A few years ago, right?
About a year or two ago. Yeah.
And they've been dumping a lot. So like you're saying, if you haven't logged in for a while, log in because it's very different.
Yes. So at first, I'd say right after they purchased them, I think we all had really big expectations and nothing changed for a while. And we're like, okay, what are they doing? It must have started all behind the scenes. And then I don't know if just everyone being at home and getting their work done now, but we've seen a number of features roll out recently over the last couple of weeks that we're really excited for, such as online events. Now you can create events both from your personal profile and from your company page. And then some new targeting features inside of the ad side that are going to be super useful. So we're starting to see new stuff come out. In the beginning, it was yeah, what are they doing? But I know they have on the back end have been connecting data with some other Microsoft services, such as Outlook for email verification and connections, and then also Bing ads. There's some connections happening there as far as being able to target people on Bing based on their LinkedIn profiles.
And Bing is the number. Well, I guess maybe the third search engine right behind Google and YouTube.
Yeah. I'm not exactly sure the rankings.
Google, but that's okay. No, but Bing has a good presence. So I just didn't want people to think that didn't matter. It is also a Microsoft platform, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so I want to touch on something. So with Facebook, like you mentioned, your business page and your personal page typically have to operate very separately. And in LinkedIn, that's not the case. And in fact, LinkedIn has done a lot of improvements on business pages and what you can do to communicate with current and potential customers.
Yeah. So company pages have a lot of options on them now. The things that I always start, when I talk to people, it's, number one, make sure your profiles, both your personal and your company page, are all filled out, optimized as much as possible. Because number one, a lot of that content is also indexed in Google. So just purely when someone's searching out there, we see your LinkedIn page often is on the first page of Google search results. So, you should have that filled out with all the possible information. A lot of people might be landing there. And then if you ever do run LinkedIn ads, there are a number of people that will click through from your, the page that's running the ads to your company page. So you want to make sure both, your company page is up to date and then your personal page as well.
Yeah. But unlike Facebook, in Facebook, you can go to Facebook jail if you post a ton of business stuff on your personal page. And whereas LinkedIn, they're kind of one and the same.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. So don't be scared.
Yeah. And Facebook throttles a lot of posts and stuff like that when you do get too salesy on stuff, on stuff like that. LinkedIn, that's why you're on LinkedIn. So, the business content, it's more appropriate for LinkedIn.
Well, one of the features that I've loved on the new Facebook page, the new LinkedIn business pages is as you're posting stuff to your business page, it allows you to broadcast that to your employees to say, hey, we just shared this. You should share this with your network.
Yeah. That's one of the, having that business network inside of LinkedIn. They're doing things on their end so you can, so that they recognize the connections between your company, your employees, and then also between teams, adding teammates and stuff, so that your content from your company can kind of be spread out throughout your company and then through their connections as well.
Okay, so then let me ask you this question, which I know is the hashtags are controversial on every platform, but how do you feel about LinkedIn hashtags?
Hashtags are great on LinkedIn. I'd say they're somewhat newer to LinkedIn rather than Facebook and Twitter. They've been there forever. we do see using hashtags helps get you more organic reach. You'd want to, usually I recommend use a couple of them tastefully. Don't do the Instagram approach of like trying to fill everyone possible in there.
Right. Don't do 30 hashtags in each post that you put up
right.
on.
The way it works on LinkedIn that we've seen is like 3 to 4 is kind of the sweet spot. More than that, and we don't see as much of a boost. And sometimes if you do too many, then you do get throttled. But if you scroll around your LinkedIn newsfeed, there's posts that are going to be popping up there based on the hashtags you follow. So if you use the right hashtag that someone else could be following, then you can get your post, even if you're not connected with them, into their newsfeed.
Yeah. And then the other thing I love about the business page is also they do recommend hashtags for you, which, you can add to your business page, but then they also give you content that you can share that's relevant to your audience. And they kind of help curate that for you.
They do. Yeah. So it makes, if you're doing, if you have a social media manager or if that's what you're doing, that does, they make recommendations to you and you can just like one click post it here.
Yeah. I will say I haven't found the search capabilities in that super effective for some clients, but it's definitely kind of a cool feature to have.
Yeah. While you mentioned search, I will say using search on LinkedIn, I don't see anybody ever talk about this, but you can search on LinkedIn and like search for things of people searching for you, if that makes sense, where you could search for people who are searching for your services and you'll find those posts out there. Those are usually ones in your second degree network is the one that you'll see. But the first page, LinkedIn tries to give you the ones that it thinks are the most popular. So you'll see ones with lots of comments on them. Like for example, if you search for, I did an example this week of like searching for mobile app development. Mm-hmm. And there was like people asking their networks for, hey, who knows a good mobile app developer? Who has a recommendation for a mobile app developer? And you could find these results by searching. So if you are a mobile app developer, go search on LinkedIn for people searching for your services. The first page has a lot of comments on those because it thinks those are the most popular. But if you go back a page or two, you'll find posts of people looking for recommendations who haven't had their question answered yet.
Okay, so that's super interesting because typically when we're looking at things, we want the top results. So you're saying go back 2 or 3 pages because it's not going to be as noisy and you're more likely to be heard and close that deal.
Yeah. Yep.
I love that. That's a really great tip. Okay, and then I want to go back to initially what you were talking about where like we can't network the same as we used to. And it's just a little different to have conversations. So talk a little bit about LinkedIn groups. And maybe the strategy behind deciding which groups you choose to be a part of.
So LinkedIn groups are still, I'd say, I will say they are behind Facebook in terms of functionality, but for the most part, we've seen the direction that Facebook's gone, where most, the groups are evolving a lot and a lot of new features are coming out there. And I'd say in general, like, yes, LinkedIn does tend to follow Facebook in a lot of ways. Like we've seen Facebook Lives, now we're seeing LinkedIn Lives, the hashtags thing, and like all stuff like that. So my hunch is groups are going to continue to get more important all over and including on LinkedIn. So groups are useful because you can get, there's so many groups out there and some of them are pretty big. I actually think the best way to use them is for most people to start your own and then position it as like a way to organize your community and to get people who are maybe interested in your services or in the community that you're serving and use it as a way to position yourself as an authority expert. Because a lot of people, when I do talk to people who are doing the kind of connect and message approach, it's always like a little, the question's like, what do I put in those messages? And inviting people to a group is a good way just to start that conversation of like, hey, I manage this group. You might be interested in it. It could be a group about mobile app development. Hey, I know you're a developer or you have an app for your company. Are you interested in joining this group? That's just a good way to start the relationship.
But it's also right about thinking outside the box so if I am a marketer, I don't want to create a group about people that are marketing because those aren't my clients, or I don't want to join a bunch of groups that are a bunch of marketers. I mean, maybe I do some for some like, industry updates and staying on top of trends and things, but it might be like joining the small business groups in the city you live in, or like if I want to focus on nonprofits, maybe it's joining some nonprofit groups where I know my ideal customers are.
Yep, exactly.
Yeah. Okay. So we've given you lots of ways to use LinkedIn, right? Your newsfeed, business page, groups, And I mean, but there's messaging, there's doing articles on LinkedIn. Like you really have a really robust way of putting your business out there.
Yeah, there's a lot of organic, a lot of free ways that you can get started with using LinkedIn.
So if somebody says, okay, I'm just starting with LinkedIn, what's the number one thing you think they should do first? Profile, make sure that's clean.
Yeah, step one is I call it get dressed up to go to work.
Well, right now that's like sweats and maybe a business shirt if you have to do a Zoom call or something.
Exactly. And what I tell people is like this is still the internet. You're making connections with people online, but people are still skeptical to start.
Yeah. So
if your profile is missing information, like I'm sure we've all seen the person out there who just doesn't have any info on their profile, or is like missing a profile picture, and you're like, are they a real person?
Yeah.
So you got to make sure all that's filled out. And what we usually do is look at your headline, look at your photos and all that. And I have a bunch of, checklists and tips and tricks for those. But make sure it's all filled out to start. And then, make sure it speaks to your target audience. And then there's a few tips around like, what we call lead magnets, some asset of value that's interesting to your target audience. Put a link to that in your summary or in your company section. And while that link is not directly clickable, people are still going to read that and they'll be like, oh, you have a checklist for this? I'm interested in learning more. And they're going to go to that page.
Okay. And so profile and then start posting in your news feed on a regular basis. Would you say people need to post every day or just 2 or 3 times a week?
Yeah, it's 2 to 3 times. Like if you're looking to make that an effort, like 2 to 3 times a week is good. Daily is kind of the most optimal if you're trying to maximize that. More than once a day, then it starts to get throttled. So you see less. So 2 to 3 times a week is a good place to start.
Okay. And then at what point should people, like if I've been using LinkedIn on a regular basis, at what point do I think I want to start to interject ads?
When you're comfortable with, so usually the first step might be like signing up for Sales Navigator and starting to see what are some of the search criteria available there. So Sales Navigator is kind of initial first step. It's like $80 a month to sign up for that. And then you can get into Sales Navigator and see how I can start targeting, like I can look at the targeting criteria and see industries, job titles, seniorities, and that gets you a feel for your target audience. I usually recommend, and like even for like, as we talk about new clients, we help them with Sales Navigator first of like, let's size up your target audience and see what that looks like. And then make sure these are the people that you want to reach. And then we'll take that and put that into an ads campaign. But Sales Navigator is a good first step. And then moving to ads when you're comfortable with your target audience and like with the message that you have to put out there.
Well, in Sales Navigator, if you haven't used it before, you can use it free for 30 days, right? For the first 30 days?
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. And so your recommendation then would be maybe, okay, like I'm going to start using LinkedIn regularly. Then I'm going to get into Sales Navigator free for 30 days and make as many connections with people as possible, really hone in on my audience. And then once I know exactly what I'm trying to sell, step into ads.
Yeah. Advertising is like throwing fuel on the fire. So when you're comfortable with who it is that you want to, reach out to and what your offer is and what you have to, what you want to say to them, then an ads campaign is what takes that to the next level.
Okay. So if I've been running Facebook ads for my business, what's the difference between the two and why would I maybe want to either switch from Facebook ads or why might I want to do both?
So if you've started on Facebook ads, you probably have a good feel for just how advertising works in general. LinkedIn's advertising platform, it's very different, but also if you're familiar with like running your own ads on Facebook, then you'll be able to figure out LinkedIn's very easily. LinkedIn's different because, well, if your target audience is a professional audience, then you have all the targeting tools in front of you that you probably want to be using for reaching that professional audience. One for me, back when I was like first getting started, like I've done a lot of Facebook ads in my day and like Google ads. And I remember there was like one account very specifically we were working on that they were a big data platform. It was more of like an enterprise platform. It was expensive to buy. Most of the people that were signing up through Facebook ads, we were usually clicking on it because it was like a pretty picture or they didn't really know what they were opting into. Like we tried to be very clear in the ads and everything, but just the people you're targeting on Facebook is more of a broader consumer audience. So switching them over to a LinkedIn campaign and specifically targeting bigger companies, higher level decision makers of those companies, like from day one of launching a LinkedIn campaign, we were getting much more qualified leads coming. So, take that step to LinkedIn when you do have that professional audience and you need those targeting capabilities.
And do you need to have a large audience before, like, of your own connections before you start to run ads, or just like other PPC, it will also target people that you're not connected to?
Yes. So your personal connections are separate from advertising campaigns, where you actually can't target your connections in an advertising campaign unless you have an email list of all your connections, and then you pop that into Ads Manager. Ads and the organic side are separate.
Oh, so that's different.
Yeah.
Interesting. I did not know that. That's a new thing for me.
Yeah. If people follow your company, you can target them, but
from a personal page, you can only target people that you're not connected to already.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, I guess that makes sense. Interesting.
And it doesn't exclude people that you're connected from. It's just you don't have that. There's no option in Ads Manager to say people I'm connected.
Got it. To specifically target those people.
Right. Yeah.
And then does LinkedIn also allow you to do video ads or multimedia type stuff, or is it?
LinkedIn has both video ads, and they also have carousel ads, just the way that Facebook does. And then the other ad formats are like the sponsored in-mail type of ad.
Right. So in your messaging.
Yeah.
Yeah, which I see those all the time. I think that's probably the ad type that I get the most of on LinkedIn.
Yeah, if you ever open up your inbox, there's probably one in there in the first like 5 messages. You probably have a sponsored email.
Yeah. So from a cost perspective, how does LinkedIn kind of match up to some of the other social media platforms like Pinterest, which you could argue is social media or not, but whatever, for a different topic, different day. So like, let's say you're looking at Pinterest, you're looking at Facebook and Instagram, you're looking at Twitter ads, LinkedIn ads, like kind of where does it fall into that mix?
Yeah, so LinkedIn ads are more expensive than most other platforms. So comparing to like Facebook, let's say, LinkedIn ads tend to be more expensive than Facebook. LinkedIn kind of set a minimum of clicks in the US are a minimum of 450. Maybe it's 450. It kind of changes depending on your audience that you select. But they've kind of raised their minimums. So usually spending, cost per click is usually a lot higher on LinkedIn. But for a lot of our campaigns, it's thinking about what your ending cost per qualified lead is. So a lot of times on Facebook, we might be running a lead generation campaign and getting a number of people signing up for like $1 or $2 each. But if only 1 out of every 50 people are actually qualified out of that, then you are spending $50 a lead. So on LinkedIn, we usually say, for a new lead generation campaign, you're probably going to start between $30 to $60 per lead. But nearly all those people are going to be qualified because you're setting the specific targeting criteria that you're looking for.
Well, and if you're going B2B, then most of those sales are either going to be like a wholesale if you're a product, or a larger account if you're in the service-based industry, versus on Facebook, it might be a single customer paying for something one time with, that might be a $5 to whatever, $100 product, right? So you're paying more per lead, but you're also expecting that contract or sale is going to be of a higher amount as well.
Yeah. So you might have a different audience on LinkedIn if you choose to use, there's one campaign that I'm thinking about that they sell B2C on like Facebook and every other platform, like the typical e-commerce store, but they sell wholesale on LinkedIn that we're running lead generation for them to sign up people who are interested in buying wholesale or interested in to be a partner and affiliate.
Yeah. Okay. So I have one other question for you, and that is with regards to organic content versus paid content for some industries that come up. So like politics, or like the CBD cannabis industry, or healthcare, or financial, like on Facebook and other platforms, that's super tight. Like how does LinkedIn handle some of those other more, I don't want to say high risk, but you know what I mean? Like volatile industries.
Yeah. So LinkedIn has their own set of ad policies, which are if you like just read them, they're pretty similar to Facebook's. Though I will say, Facebook does a lot of like automatic scanning of what you upload as far as like your copy and your images and your videos. And I do notice Facebook rejects a lot of things, whereas LinkedIn is they're a little bit behind. Their scanning algorithms aren't as good, stuff like that. So there's certain like words that if you put in there, they're going to reject because of the certain word that you use. But for the most part, you can almost get away with a lot more on LinkedIn. But their policies are pretty similar to Facebook's. But for some like those financial ones, they do allow more around like business services, financial services than other platforms.
Yeah. Well, I mean, and that kind of makes sense because it's a different. I mean, you kind of expect that people that you're targeting kind of understand the jargon a little bit more than maybe on other platforms. Because if you're targeting somebody, they're probably similar industry type people.
Yeah. Yeah. Usually we're targeting by a specific industry and a specific job title or function at that industry. So we actually do get, usually it's like a certain keyword or a jargon term is what's going to catch someone's attention. So actually we find like using stuff like that is useful.
Yeah. So, okay. So this brings up another question. I said I had my last question and I lied. So Sales Navigator is a great tool. I've used it before. Tons of amazing targeting in it, but I do not have to have a Sales Navigator account in order to still do some specific targeting with a LinkedIn ad, correct?
Correct. Yeah. Sales Navigator is also separate. So you don't need Sales Navigator to be using ads. And in fact, the ads targeting criteria is very similar to Search Sales Navigator. So you don't really need both.
Well, but you just can't make the personal one-on-one connections. Like, it's not like you can pull from your ads and say, okay, well, A, B, C, D, E person saw this, so now I'm going to go make a personal connection with them. So that's the difference you miss, right?
Well, you can see who's liked and commented on your ads.
Sure, but not who the ad's been served to.
Right.
Yeah. Okay. So what is your favorite feature on LinkedIn?
My favorite feature on LinkedIn has got to be their lead forms that they have. So a lot of our campaigns use the lead forms. They're very similar to the Facebook lead forms, but the value of LinkedIn is that everyone has their company name and job title filled out. So we often, it's a very easy way for someone to click, sign up for your lead magnet or whatever it is that you have to offer, and then people, will be submitting, email address and then company name, job title. That's super useful info for, for the campaigns that we're running. So lead forms, I'd say, are probably my most favorite feature.
But that's only through ads.
Correct. Yeah.
Okay. And then do you think that LinkedIn will ever, or is there a company that has kind of an API between chat? So for example, I have several clients that use ManyChat on their website as their chatbot feature because it syncs directly with Facebook. But if I'm more of a B2B company, is there a chat functionality that will directly dump people into my LinkedIn Messenger?
Not like that. I would love if they had.
Yeah.
Though I will say there's been a new ad type that's been released recently that actually makes me think that they're going in the chatbot direction, and maybe not to the extent that ManyChat does, but there's a new ad format called conversation ads that are you build a chat flow is what you do. So it's still more basic than like a ManyChat flow, but you can offer people a few different options. And we've seen a big performance boost out of using them. And I think this is like LinkedIn's first step towards going more towards chatbots.
Yeah, because what is your feeling on chatbots in general?
I have mixed feelings. I think they're useful for offering some automation, like the ones that are on Facebook. Like I was at the ManyChat conference in Austin this past year, and like I feel like I've seen a lot of like chatbots, but myself, I haven't used them a ton. As far as like, even as a consumer, I haven't used them a ton. And like whenever I see them pop up, I just kind of ignore them and still send a message in a different way.
I know. You know what I struggle with is, as somebody who's in the marketing space on a regular basis, I struggle with like, how do I separate myself from the masses and understand like how, like consumers react to those chatbots versus, because I agree with you. Like a lot of them I've seen, I just like ignore and then interact with the brand differently.
Yeah. So I think LinkedIn's going in that direction. Another interesting kind of take on that is when we do lead gen campaigns, a few recommendations we usually make is as people are signing up for your lead magnet using your lead form, oftentimes if they're providing either their LinkedIn URL or company name and job title, you can go find these people on LinkedIn, and they're often very open to accepting your connection request. And then when you connect with somebody on LinkedIn, you can then send them a message via LinkedIn. But then also, if they haven't given you their email address and phone number, most people give it to people in their network, or like it's just on their profile. Mm-hmm. So kind of starting the relationship through an ad or through a lead form, and then continuing it still via LinkedIn, the initial platform they engaged on, whether a message or via email afterwards.
Yeah. Okay. So I swear this is the last thing, I promise.
Good questions.
Okay. So I know right now there's a lot of nonprofits out there that had fundraisers planned or run walks or whatever. And even if they're rescheduled, if everybody's rescheduling to Q4 or Q1, like there's just going to be a super grab for dollars as there is now. Like, do you have any ideas for how nonprofits can utilize LinkedIn to reach out to like CEOs that might be friendly to their cause, or other business owners that might, I would think LinkedIn could be a great place to reach a higher quality, I don't want to say quality, but like a higher financial level of people, professionals that could still potentially help support nonprofits and fundraisers online and things like that.
So two ideas there, and one is for the events that might have been canceled or moved online. Is LinkedIn just rolled out events as a feature on LinkedIn, both from personal pages and company pages, along with LinkedIn Lives recently. So if you're moving your event online, I'd recommend it's free to use these features, create an event for it on LinkedIn, and then also post it on LinkedIn Live. And just like how Facebook gives people in your network notifications when you go live, so does LinkedIn. So it's also a good way to activate your networks there for any events that you are moving online. And then
before you go to the second one though. Okay. So like, let's say we have all of our board members on LinkedIn, and is there a way to, if we publish it to our business page for the nonprofit, could they then share it with all of their board members? And if their board members share it, then the live goes then to that entire network of people?
So the live notification will go to anybody following the page.
Okay. Got
it. As a page can share it with people connected with the page, they can then share it with their networks, and then it can kind of expand.
Okay, perfect. Okay, so then your second idea.
Second idea is if you're kind of like looking for fundraisers or looking to reach out to networks of higher net worth individuals, then LinkedIn's a good channel to use. Maybe you do sign up for Sales Navigator for the nonprofit, and then you target specific CEOs of companies, maybe a certain industry, and then you can connect and start the conversation with them there.
I love it. Okay, so many ways to use LinkedIn. So if anybody says that LinkedIn's not for them, I think they're crazy. Right?
There's a lot of new options out there, and just like with everyone, with everyone being forced online right now, like LinkedIn's just where the business community is going to go.
Yeah. Okay. So you mentioned earlier a couple checklists or freebies that you have. If people want to know more about you and how they can kind of make sure their profile is, up to snuff and all that good stuff, how can they find out more?
So I just posted a company page checklist to my LinkedIn. I uploaded the PDF right inside of LinkedIn, so I can share that with you. And then we have so our website is modernmedia.io. And then I have a guide called the Modern Guide to Lead Generation. If you go to modernmedia.io/guide, you can download that there. That kind of shows the funnel process, and then talks a lot about lead magnets. And then if you ever have any questions, feel free to email me at anthony@modernmedia.io, or connect with me on LinkedIn, and we can go from there.
Yeah. And we will have all of these links in the show notes for this episode at thefirstclick.net/podcast. So you can check all those freebies out there. Any last kind of words about LinkedIn and why you love it, or?
Just get on there and try it out. It's a big network. There's a lot of options. Anyone can sign up and give it a whirl, and see how it works for you.
I love it. Yeah. It's the one that I always want to get on. I always think about it like almost every day and then don't. So I need to, that's on my list too, to start being more consistent on LinkedIn.
For the longest time, I was as I was running ad campaigns, I was like, who uses it and who signs up for these things, for our campaigns? But now over the last few years, like that's me, where I'm like, okay, I'm on LinkedIn more than I'm on Facebook.
Yeah. I love it.
That's where I spend the time, thinking about business stuff and doing business.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Anthony. I really appreciate you coming on today.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. Thanks, Sammy.
Thank you again to Anthony. I really appreciate him taking the time out to chat with me today. I hope that you got some great feedback as far as LinkedIn and its new features. I would love to hear which feature you were most surprised by and what you're excited to jump in and do. So for now, make sure you send me your profile on LinkedIn so I can check it out and follow your business. I look forward to seeing all the amazing things that you do. Make sure you head on over to the show notes at thefirstclick.net/podcast for links to all the resources that we talked about in this episode. And don't forget to subscribe wherever you listen so that you don't miss out on a single episode. We'll see you in the next one.